Hello, this is Candyson here, and today we're finally back with another video, and with all the drama that's been happening on with Ninja Kiwi and balancing and stuff, I thought it would be opportune to make a video just talking about balancing as an art. So I'm going to take an objective view and approach on what balancing is and how we can work to make this a better situation on Ninja Kiwi's end and the community's end. So I'm going to start off by just quoting Wikipedia. In game design, balance is the concept and the practice of tuning a game's rules, usually with the goal of preventing any of its component systems from being ineffective or otherwise undesirable when compared to their peers. And that is a very good quote, I feel. It talks about balance in an objective view, of course, but it describes what games should strive for in balance. So starting off with that, Bloons does have very few viable strategies. And I will be using Bloons for my analogies, of course, because this is a Bloons channel, and I do want to relate this to Bloons. But, yes, Bloons does have very few overly effective strategies, and there are not many good methods. So obviously, balancing does need to be done. However, let's talk about the goals of balancing, because, again, I think that we should discuss this a little bit more further before we make a final decision on what needs to be done. So what I find with the goals of balancing is, 1, you have to promote a healthier balance of towers. So yes, you need variety. You need good, fun strategies. And going into my next point, you need to promote fun strategies. So, for Ninja Kiwi, it makes more sense to buff towers that look really cool, like Tack, than towers like Chipper. And while that may not be the best for balancing in the short term, because Chipper may be more likely to defend and the only option that works right now, in the long term, you want to promote fun strategies. You want to promote Tack, you want to promote Cannon. Just any tower that looks real flashy. Turbocharge, for example. Something that looks real flashy and looks fun, and makes people want to play the game more. And just look at it and be like, that looks cool. So next, you gotta promote a company's vision of the game. So Ninja Kiwi has their own vision of how the game should be. And we may not agree with that, but we do have to take that into account. So Ninja Kiwi oftentimes makes their games for more casual-based players. So when they do balance, they need to make sure that they're focusing on their player base. And yes, there is a small subset of competitive people that they do have to keep in mind. I'm not saying that they don't have to, but I'm saying that their vision is to create a casual game that's fun. So every balance change they have to do has to fill their vision. And I think that for competitive games, especially in the competitive matches, you buff the towers that casual people aren't going to use, especially. You buff stuff that they aren't going to notice and doesn't hurt their player experience. So for example, I'm going to use rainbows here. While this is controversial, the fact is that if you have overpowered rainbows, it makes the casual players have an unfun game. I think that having strong rainbows is a good thing, but you have to keep that in mind that there are two sides to the story here. You have to make it fun for the casuals, but also make it challenging and fun for the competitive people. So it's a balance with that. You also have to entice players to try new things. So this is a weird thing, because most people believe balancing as just making the game balanced and making it equal and stuff. However, no game that's properly balanced is going to be equal. There's always going to be better strategies, and there's always going to be more efficient ways. At the same time, there's going to be more easy ways to tackle problems that aren't as effective, but allow people an easier transition into the game strategy. Stuff like Wizard and Ninja serve great for starting towers for people who don't know the game. And while we joke about people who do use that, we all did use it at one point. I know I used to use that because it works when you're new, and it is great for understanding those early concepts of basic eco, how to exploit an early defense, and make sure you have enough money for round 13 with your cannon or whatever, or your wizards. How to use the battle energy. But when you're enticing people to try new things, oftentimes it does require an overbuff. If you're trying to get people to use Boomer, for example, you want to overbuff it first, because you want people to try it out, because if it's not enough, people are not going to try it out. Even if it is enough, if it doesn't look good of a change, people are not going to use it. So you overbuff it a little bit, and then you tweak it back as people use it, and they learn it, and they get better with it. And they get more efficient with it, and everything else that goes along with getting good with the strategy. And sadly, the fifth goal is you have to maximize the bottom line. And this is a sad reality. Ninja Kiwi is a company. So, while they really like being able to provide a free experience for the competitive people, and yes, it is completely free if you're willing to put in the time to unlock every tower, which nowadays is practically no time. It used to be a lot of time, where you would unlock everything to like 5,000 battle score. But that's a discussion for a different day. But they do have to maximize the bottom line. If the game isn't fun for those casual people who want to buy like club rooms or a new tower or something because they can't get the medallions on their own, then you have to keep that in mind. Because the money doesn't come from the competitive people in the way that Bloons is set up. It's not like League of Legends or CSGO, where competitive, thriving communities bring in millions of advertising and prizes just by being so good at the game. Ninja Kiwi doesn't have their setup like that yet. Their game is built as a casual game, so they do have to keep that in mind. That's why you have some things that are purely for the casuals, and something that's good for everything. When they added Zen Garden, for example, they didn't put it in the club rooms, because that doesn't benefit the casual players. It benefits the people who aren't going to pay for club rooms and don't need that. And why would a competitive person pay for club rooms when it doesn't benefit them at all? It doesn't give the competitive player any tangible reward. So for the competitive people, they made maps like Zen Garden not club map exclusive. So I'm glad that they do stuff like that. The other thing with that is cost benefit. So they have multiple projects going on, and projects that they probably cannot talk about, but they have so many employees, and for those employees, they have to pay them. I mean, I'm not sure of how much they pay their employees, that's not my knowledge to know, but they have to pay their employees, they have to keep the lights on, they have to pay for servers, and servers are not cheap. You have to pay for development, you have to pay for advertising, whatever you have to pay for, and there's only so much that so many resources they have, because they've been putting 3+ years in the battles, and imagine 3+ years of, let's say, 10 employees at 70,000 a year. I mean, 10 employees, that'd be 700,000 times 3 years, you're looking at 2.1 million. That is not cheap. That's not even counting server expenses and operating expenses outside of just employees. And lastly, the effects of balancing. And this is where I'm going to talk more of what the goal of, or what you do with balancing and what comes out of it. So, I first have to start off with, good balancing does not make a game fun. Good concepts do. So, good balancing will not save a shit game from being shit. Just because it's balanced does not mean it'll be fun. A game that has good concepts and good balancing is great. Again, those examples like League and CSGO and stuff that have ballooned to massive proportions are good examples of games that manage to not only stay fun, but have at least decent enough balancing to where a competitive scene can thrive. And you have to have good concepts before you can have good balancing. I think Bloons does have good concepts, because people are still playing it after how many years. But you do need to work on some balancing now. And Ninja Kiwi has been trying to do some balancing, and obviously it hasn't been enough, but at least they're trying. I think that you just need to keep working on that, for Ninja Kiwi especially. Just if you're hearing this, just keep working on that, and I think you do need to go a little more with the balancing. Not because it is the best use of company resources, but because there's people willing to do it for you basically now. Everyone in the community wants to benefit the game that they find fun. So me or Tyler or Bob, we're all willing to provide changes and stuff if you just ask. I know us three are an example because we have been asked before. There's everyone out in the community is just willing to provide help. Even Blaze it, he's willing to help. In an unconventional manner, he's willing to help. So, everyone wants to have good for the game. It's just in different ways. The next concept with that is people don't like change, especially at the highest level. And contrary to that, people also don't like stale. Nobody likes stale gameplay, but at the very top, people do not like change, especially at the very top. Because if you're at the very top, you've put in the time, you've gotten good, and you don't want that to be taken away with you because they promote a strategy that you're not good at, or something that you don't understand, or would have trouble adapting to. Maybe it's not your playstyle. And that's one thing that people have to realize, is that even when there's strategies other than Dart Farm that are viable, everyone uses Dart Farm. Not because those other strategies are not viable, but because it's a completely different playstyle. People don't want to change from Dart Farm even if they had the option to. At least in the past experiences. Obviously, if it was done right, I think that you could have other options and people would be willing to do that. And people were willing to do stuff other than Dart Farm. But very few people were. Most people did Dart Farm. There was maybe 2, 3, 4 people who were willing to do stuff other when other strats were viable. And that's when sub was much stronger, when you had the fact that it could basically solo round 6 with a single 0-2. It was cheaper, it had higher attack speed. Chipper was broken with the 0-0 for ceramics, which was insanely strong with submarine. You could get a 4-0 chipper for round 18 as a viable option of defending round 18. Trust me, it was a lot less balanced then. But at the same time, nobody used that even though it worked. So, you do have to have a balance of that. It has to be a middle ground of not too stale, but not too much change. And next thing is that balancing only impacts a small subset of players in a noticeable way. Yes, it affects everyone. And the casual players are going to be affected by it, but the casual players do not notice balancing. Unless it's something that breaks something, like if rainbows were randomly nerfed to 300%, everyone would be complaining. I mean, everyone was complaining when there were 675 for 3 rainbows, Rigo rainbows. And the thing is as long as it's not broken, the casual players don't really mind. The competitive players do mind. And those are the people that it impacts in a noticeable way. Those are the people who go complaining because it affects them. It's what they play that gets directly impacted by balancing changes. And lastly, balancing requires feedback. And this is something that I've seen Ninja Kiwi trying to get a little bit better with. Obviously, I don't think that they're to the best situation with that. But with that feedback, directly from the community, I might add, it needs to be constructive and respectable. They want feedback, and they're willing to listen if you do it in the right way. And I bring that up not because there aren't respectable people out there, but because I don't think it's been iterated enough. And while I think Ninja Kiwi's done a bad job of, or not necessarily, yeah, I'll say a bad job. They've done a bad job, they haven't done enough with the community. But the community has also done a bad job with not being respectable enough and constructive enough. And I think that's a double-sided sword. Both sides have to do their part. So I don't think any side is in the wrong, but neither side is in the right. So with this video, I'm asking for Ninja Kiwi to talk a little bit more with the community. And I know they've been trying recently. I know the community's been trying to give the feedback. But I want Ninja Kiwi and the community to forge a stronger relation. I want people to be more respectable with this and be more understanding. Because I know me personally, I hate the drama that's going on, and I want to avoid it as much as possible, which is probably why you never see me talking about drama except like right now. But I want people to be constructive. I want Ninja Kiwi to have y'all's feedback. But you have to give them specific, you have to give constructive reasoning, and you have to be respectable about it. And if you do that, Ninja Kiwi will start listening more. And they have started listening more if you do that. But yeah, again, at Ninja Kiwi, you just have to find those constructive and respectable people versus just giving like a blanket statement. Because not everyone out there is disrespectable or whatever. There are people out there who want to do change, but are shadowed over the people who do it in the wrong way. So with that, hope y'all enjoyed, and see y'all in the next one.